All right, everyone. Going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional lands of Acadia First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Please note in the meeting minutes, recording secretary, that Councillor Daniel Allen will be here late. We were notified of that earlier today. He's out fishing. Could we all rise for the playing of O Canada, please? Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Thank you very much, everyone. Today's the regular council meeting on Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as circulated? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I make a motion to add under Advisory Committee the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee? Just have a brief verbal. Yeah. As a as a standing item, because it is now an active committee. Thank you.
So the motion on the floor was to add, please repeat that again, Councillor.
To add as a standing item the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Citizen Advisory.
Would that be under advisory?
Yep, under, so wherever it falls in the.
So it'd be item 10.4.12.
For now, and then it will move up alphabetically, right? Yeah. Thank you.
All right, a motion to amend the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Durkee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add probably new business. Yes. The doctor, trying to get something out here. The emergency department at the hospital, a recommendation with regard to the emergency department at the hospital.
All right, item 8.6, recommendation regarding emergency department, Councillor?
Yes, please.
All right, motion on the floor. Do all those in favor signify by... Oh, yes, sorry.
I'll second Sherry's motion and I'll second this motion for the record.
My apologies, Council. All right, motion on the floor to add item 8.6. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Any more additions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Patty Durkee, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 5, declarations of conflict of interest. If there's any, please notify me and I'll make sure that your name is recorded in the meeting minutes. Item number 6, approval of the minutes. You all have them in your package. What is council's wishes? Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. Warden Cunningham, there was a little boo-boo that I did notice along the way. But somehow my computer is not working. There we go. I will just take a moment to see if I can quickly find that. It's just a spelling. Otherwise, I'll make the motion to approve all of the minutes as presented. But I will find that one little error. You know, teachers do these things. It's nothing urgent and nothing that will prevent the item passing. I have to figure it out. My apologies for the delay and the fact that I didn't write this down in advance.
It's quite all right. So a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as circulated except for the spelling correction. So motion on the floor, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor, if you do, did you find it?
No, but this is opening very, very slowly, so I will find it and let our municipal clerk know.
All right, in between, if we're on a subject, in between the subjects, just spark up your microphone once you find it, and it can be mentioned online. All right, item number 7, old business, a briefing note. Now, this is a briefing note in regards to a request that we had from 2 different residents. One was Greg Muse back in, I believe it was September or October. And the second one was from Mr. Ron Cox last regular council meeting in regards to changing the way that we operate and handle our meetings, allowing for public input. First and foremost, this is the first time that I've ever done a request for decision myself. I never realized how much work actually went into those. So if you see in that briefing note, I contacted 5 different municipalities in that regard. One of them was the town of Kentville, Municipality District of Clare, Municipality District of Argyle, Municipality District of Barrington, and the Municipality of the District of Lunenburg. So I reached out to all 5 wardens and 1 mayor and the CAOs and got their input. So in front of you is a briefing note that I put together. So, with that said, you have all the information in front of you. There was 3 recommendations I put there. So what is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden.
I have a motion. I've circulated a written draft of the motion. I guess not a draft of the motion. The motion will stand as read. So given that there have been many requests for additional opportunities for public input at the Municipality District of Yarmouth, and given that MODI, or Municipality District of Yarmouth, aims to increase public input, be it resolved that the Municipality District of Yarmouth allow 15 minutes at each regular council meeting and committee of the whole meeting for a public comment session prior to the adjournment of the meeting. Further, be it resolved that each citizen be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes to present their comments within the 15-minute time allotted for the public comment session. That comments be within the purview of municipal government. So that's wider than just the agenda, but it was something that Lunenburg had used. So somebody would be able to bring something up that was of interest to them, but not necessarily on that evening's agenda. So we could hear that. That comments be directed to the whole council and not to individual councillors or staff. that questions be directed to council via written correspondence, as the public comment session is not intended as a Q&A between members of the public and council. Rather, it is an opportunity for a community member excuse me, to voice their position on an issue of interest to municipal government. And I found this helpful. This was in the briefing note that Warden Cunningham gave, and the municipal solicitor suggested. Sometimes questions are hard, and there's only 3 minutes. Are hard to, I guess, get the language around to ask, and there's only 3 minutes to talk. So I think we spend a lot of time with Q&A, but certainly there is an opportunity to write us or write staff with questions, or to bring questions to the council table through those means. That the public comment session agenda item be included on a trial basis until the end of the present council's current term, and that the list of citizens slated for the public comment session be determined by the chair of the meeting by a method of their choosing.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Discussion. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to both the warden and deputy warden, and especially to the community for bringing this forward. You know, I think it addresses a motion that Councillor Hurlbert made months ago, something we're still looking into it, and how to get the community to interact in municipal politics. This is something that we heard that the community wanted directly from the community, so it's really hard to not move forward with a motion similar to this. I'm willing to debate how, you know, each point if you want to do so, but generally I'm in favor of the motion as it stands. But I'm also open to hearing from other councillors on if they see any issues with specific points.
Councillor Durkee.
No, Councillor Hurlbert.
Sorry, Councillor Hurlbert.
That's okay. I'm going to read this because it's been said at times, sometimes I struggle with my wording, so I've wrote some things down. Currently, the municipality of the District of Yarmouth has in place a number of procedures for the public to make comments, voice concerns, and to put forward any ideas that would benefit the municipality. The procedures include posting on the Modi Facebook page, calling or emailing councillors, calling or emailing directly to the municipal staff, and making official requests to make presentations at one of our committee of the whole meetings. And it's my understanding that the public has never been denied the opportunity to make presentations as long as they fall within the guidelines we have set out. Early in the municipal term, I made a motion that we change the procedural policy to ensure that all agendas and documentation be available to the public 2 business days before a meeting. That ensures that the public can read and see what we are debating and what we are discussing, and they can reach out to us with those concerns, questions, and voice their opinions. And to date, I have received less than 5 phone calls, comments, or emails from residents who have wanted to debate or learn more about any agenda item. We have public meetings on various concerns such as the Mariner Center expansion, our land use bylaw amendments. Currently, Council is exploring additional ways to ensure public participation, which includes and is not limited to procedures that our contractors use to engage the public. One of the mayors or wardens that our warden spoke to advised that they had had several negative interactions with community members as a result of the comments from the public portion of the council meeting. And in the warden's briefing note, it says all councillors allotted a 15-minute time total, and one of them that was attached to the briefing note actually says they allow 10 minutes. I know that's just probably feeling like it's playing, you know, getting a little into the weeds there, but not all of them allow 15 minutes. The fact that 3 different entities refused to comment on the desirability of the practice speaks volumes. The municipal solicitor did advise that he heard that chairpersons, after a member of the public has spoken, that remind those in attendance that the speaker's opinions or assertions of facts, they are their own and they may not be accurate or correct. While I do encourage public participation, I think we need to be very careful on how we proceed with this matter. In a perfect world, council meets to discuss and govern this municipality in a responsible way. In this perfect scenario, the public presents any constructive concerns that they may have with the process and decision, but this seems to be more and more that people are trying to just derail our ability to govern. It is with this concern that I reflect on the past couple of years and the disjointed, unfounded, and frankly bizarre agenda that has been proposed both formally and informally to this council. Look no further than our comments on our Facebook page. The comments range from allegedly being part of a secret group to do the bidding of the UN, World Health Organization, and the Economic Forum. We have been accused unjustly of implementing policies of Justin Trudeau and frankly have no idea where that even comes from. And some have even had the audacity to comment that some of us councillors are the mere puppet of our CAO. I do not wish to give any more oxygen to the people who are trying, in my opinion, trying to derail what we are here to do. We are here to govern. We are here to listen to the residents in a reasonable and responsible way. Therefore, I will not be voting in favor of this motion.
Councillor Durkee.
Well, thank you, Councillor Hurlbert, because basically you have mentioned all the points that I was considering. We have been elected by our community to represent our residents, and I think we've all made it very clear that we are available at any time to speak to anyone. My door's always open. I have people dropping by my shop to talk. I have received messages on Facebook, and I have received phone calls. And I can tell you that with the turmoil that has been going on in the last year or so, I also have only received 5 or less phone calls with regards to clarification, particularly with our MPS and LUB. And with an explanation, I have been able to, people were in agreement. I have concerns with the motion on the table, and for the simple fact that, yes, we have many opportunities where our residents can speak to us. And to me, it's really important that we are all aware of what is on our agenda. I, too, have seen comments on Facebook and other places about how the UN, the WF, and the WHO are influencing our decisions, and I can rightfully say that maybe they are influencing other levels of government. Maybe they are trickling down to some of the things that are happening, particularly in terms of climate change and environment. But I can honestly say that when it comes to governing our own municipality, we try to do the best, make the best decisions that we can, based on often on input from our community, from our meetings, from presentations here. We have gone back and looked at some of the decisions that we have made and reviewed, for example, the MPS and LUB, and we have made changes to things based on what our community says, and so we are listening. It's really unfortunate to me that comments are made that are incorrect, that just the information that's being shared is incorrect. And so I personally do not want people to come in at the end of our meetings for 15 minutes and talk about the incorrect information that's being shared. I would rather someone ask me directly, and there are people who have not done that, and rather would talk about and be keyboard warriors, putting down our efforts as council. And quite frankly, I think we've done an amazing job as council. I think we've made some important decisions. I think we are working for the community. And I'm sorry, at this point, I can't agree with this motion as it's presented for a couple of reasons, and I would like to say why. The comment about purview of municipal government, well, many people may take that in different directions, because we can make direct decisions on certain things, and other things we can't. And so when it comes down to it, do people feel that if the World Economic Forum is influencing the federal government, and the federal government's influencing the provincial government, and the provincial government is influencing municipal government, then is that seen as purview of municipal government? I'm not sure. So, and there's another piece as well, question and answers. I would not agree to that, because I'm a person who likes to make decisions based on fact, and when information comes that may not be correct, then I'd like to do my own research first to formulate my own opinion. The other thing is, items should be related. If it was decided to do this, then I feel that items should be related to the agenda of the day, for consideration only for the committee of the whole and not regular council, because that's where we make our final decisions, and committee of the whole is where we have those discussions and listen to each other and debate where we're going. So it's for those reasons and things that I have suggested, and the opportunities to speak at any time with council, I will not be agreeing with the motion as it's presented.
Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And thank you, Deputy Warden Cunningham and Councillor Hurlbert, Councillor Durkee, on your comments and the motion that Councillor Cunningham had made. There are a few things that I do agree with. Number one, what I think if there's going to be any questions asked after our meetings, it would be at the committee of the whole, because that is where we have our discussions and our debates. Another thing, I have no problem hearing what the public has to say if the public is giving us the proper information that we can research and that we can respond to. So in saying that, again, like I said, I have no problem with public presentation, but as our council, we always let the public know 2 days, I believe, or more before our meetings come. I believe it is, isn't it? So it would only be appropriate that any questions that would be asked by the public to our council would be of municipal interest, number one, and number two, that we get them in a proper amount of time so that we can look at it and research them and respond correctly to them when the questions are asked from the public. So in saying that, I really don't have a problem with Councillor Cunningham's motion. Like I said, there's a couple of things that should be changed, and you know, so I can't pick them up right up. Councillor Durkee certainly mentioned them, and so did Councillor Hurlbert. So I really don't have a big problem with hearing what the public has to say, if the public is saying the correct information to us. And you know, and again, as long as we can research it ourselves through our staff, and to ensure that the information that, or the questions that are going to be asked are appropriate to municipal government and to the agenda, and or to the agenda, and I mean, we may respond to them when the questions are asked, or we may reject them because they don't really address municipal concerns. So that's my feeling of it. Thank you.
Councillor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I only received this proposed motion, or I would have added some comments in my original thought, but we have to remember that this motion, as it stands, says regular council meetings and committee of the whole. And I would agree with Councillor Durkee that if this was going to happen, and I'm still voting against it, but if you vote for this, it means that at both committee of the whole and regular council, there will be a public input session. Remember that. We have heard that when questions are asked of us, that there are people who comment that they don't want the staff to be the ones who give us the answers. They want us to be making those decisions ourselves. So I'm not sure how we navigate a question and answer if it's given to us at a meeting, and then we as council have to have another meeting before a regular committee of the whole to decide how we're going to answer those questions. That to me concerns me, because we have heard that they're not happy that the staff are actually doing their jobs and providing us the information in order to successfully govern. That's a huge thing for me. And for all of the other reasons I stated. So keeping in mind this motion as it stands would be how we have to proceed. Council and committee of the whole. And at council, we're here tonight to pass those motions that have been discussed at committee of the whole. It is what it is. Tonight, it either, all of these things on this agenda either pass or they don't pass. And there really, after that, isn't a lot that we can do because it is a done deal. So having this motion read regular council meetings and committee of the whole, you know, and for all those other reasons, no.
Deputy Warden.
Yeah, just for clarity's sake, and it's a good question, but part of the further be resolved that questions be directed to council via written correspondence is public comment session. The public comment session is not intended as a Q&A between members of the public and council. Rather, is an opportunity for a community member to voice their position on an issue of interest to municipal government. Well, that's part of the reason that, you know, that language is in there, because we may each have a different answer to the question, and that includes staff. And so sometimes those questions are better, well, almost all the times, unless it's a simple question like when's the next meeting, or that everybody can agree on 100%. I mean, you know, that type of thing is I think we use our good judgment around that. But when you're talking about a complex question, it's tough, because we'd all have different answers, including probably even the CAO. So questions are best to come to council as a whole, and they're either easily answered because they're technical by staff, or if it's a political type question where there's an opinion to be, you know, if staff has to come to council to get that answer, then we could agree on some kind of an answer at that point. So that's why that language is in there, because there's only 3 minutes for people, each individual, to speak. And if we got into a back and forth and clarifying, well, the 15 minutes would be eaten up, and really we wouldn't get much public input. So just for clarity's sake, that's why that's in there. And questions are always good, but again, there are limitations of time there.
Oh, you let me up first. Want me to shut off?
Really?
Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, you know, because this is a regular council meeting and not a working session, we really, you know, we could go through this point by point, because I do think that this is the right direction. It doesn't matter to me where some of the issues that we've had. The fact of the matter is we want to engage the public. We want them to be involved in municipal politics, but have they do that, it has to have rules, so that if the sticking point for you is committee of the whole versus regular council, then an amendment can be made to limit that to the committee of the whole. Because I do think committee of the whole is the working session of council, and to Councillor Herbert's point, we could, having questions during that period allows you the 2 weeks to absorb those questions and then make an informed decision for the regular council meeting. But at the same time, I know that committee of the whole was in the during the work day, and not everyone can make it, and regular council is in the evening, where it might be more accessible to other people. So as much as I will support that amendment, because I do agree committee of the whole is the working session, I'm not going to make it because I know that there's people that might want to voice at both sessions. So if that is your sticking point, then you should move that. And, you know, I think it's important that we move a version of this. So look at each statement, see what's, if it's the purview of municipal government and you want it to be to the agenda, amend that if you want to. But really, the other points I can live with, and it's a trial until November or October. So that's my final comment. I'm in favor of it.
Councillor Cushing.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Well, let me take a little drink of water here. There you go. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Warden. Like I say, I'm in favor of having a public ask questions, as long as they refer to the municipal government or what's on the agenda. And I believe committee of the whole is the place to have this discussion. I understand that some of our councilors are still working and may have trouble finding it, but we're here to represent the citizens of the municipality of Yarmouth. So the committee of the whole is where we debate and discuss items, and so it should be. If us as councilors need to hold an extra meeting to discuss, let's say, 3 questions, then so be it. And I will stress again, we're here to represent the citizens of the municipality of Yarmouth. If we're not willing to do such a thing as that, maybe we shouldn't be here. But, you know, as a committee of the whole is the place to have this discussion. And as I said, if the questions are related to the municipal government, what's on our agenda, I have no problem with it. And if it takes an extra meeting for us to discuss, because as Councillor Cunningham said, we all could have a different opinion on the question. So it'd be better for us to sit down, talk about it, hear what each other has to say. And if it's a legal thing, we do have our lawyer. If staff can answer a question, well, then that's what we have staff for, to not tell us what to do, but to advise us on the MGA Act and other things that on our strategic plan that we have and whatnot. So it's not just an individual councillors who have an opinion, it's an opinion of the council as a whole, and we need to have correct facts. We have to look at it, we have to debate it before we come to the committee of the whole, so we can have the proper answer for the questions that are asked. Thank you.
Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Councillor Hurlbert had mentioned, we have been allowing anybody to speak at our committee of the whole meetings where they register, and we know in advance what is coming, which I totally appreciate. In that scenario, people have 10 minutes to speak. So they can provide research, they can provide backup to what it is, to their opinion. When you are speaking for 3 minutes, 3 minutes is a very short period of time. And so my concern is that in that 3 minutes, people will make their comment, but not really have the time to justify why they feel that way, or be able to present backup information for their opinion. So I prefer to keep it that we allow the public, which we have always done and not turned people away, the opportunity to present at committee of the whole, being registered on the agenda. That's my personal preference.
Deputy Warden.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, everybody brings up good points. What I will say is that we've been a very long time coming forward to the public. They've requested certainly additional input. That's been talked about around the council table, that we'd like to have additional public input. I think this is a means to have that input. And I know people have talked about certain things that may like to amend, but that can be amended down the road. You know, it's a trial basis until the end of our council, our current council term. You know, and really, it's not a Q&A, but it's an ability for the public to have their input. And whether that input comes at committee of the whole or during a regular council meeting at the end of it, I think Councillor Hilton brought up a good point. You know, some folks may not be able to make, you know, a morning meeting or an evening meeting, and a month is a long time to wait. 2 weeks is, you know, if there's something somebody wants to voice in this type of session, then you know, I think that's all right. But again, it's a trial period, and if we find that there's not a lot of uptake on it, you know, council could always, you know, whether it's the evening session or the committee of the whole, council could always change the language around this. But I think it's important to get something passed tonight because the public's asked for it. You know, our warden's done his due diligence in presenting a briefing note, and you know, I took that and looked at it and heard what the public had to say, and heard what council had to say in terms of really wanting additional public input. And I think this is a way to do that, and frankly, it's a way that other councils, you know, receive some input as well. So I think we should do this tonight, and then you know, we can talk about the details later, but I think the public wants additional input right now. Thank you.
I'm going to say something. As everyone knows out there, I try to be open and transparent as I possibly can. Something that really bothers me, and it's really bothered me since the onset of it, is when I started council, public or social media was never really a thing. Yeah, there's a few people on it around here, but now that the internet is opened up to especially the residents of the municipality district of Yarmouth with the contract that we signed with Bell and have a lot easier access to it, people are becoming more vocal online. And social media, let me point this out very clear. I hate social media. I hate it with a passion. It gives people a tool to be what I call a keyboard warrior. I'd much rather see people face to face, and I've commented a couple times against my rational thought on social media, and I bring up the point, say that to my face. Then someone actually brought forward to me, they said, well, I can't say it to your face in an open forum where it's recorded because you don't allow it. I've done a lot of research on this, and I've worked very hard to make sure that I gave council the best briefing note that I could with no staff input other than the solicitor. I've also talked to, I attended a meeting up in the municipality district of Clare, and one councillor in particular, Eric Pache, his name is, he says, I think you should give people the right to say it in front of all of you. It doesn't matter what you do or what you say, people are going to be upset with you with the way that you vote on something. And I think that personally he didn't really care. Me as a chairperson, it's very difficult to manage something like this. We seen what happened in the public hearing. People thought that I was too strong, to say it with a lack of better words, too strong in restricting the public to have their opinions and trying to keep the intensity level down in that public hearing. It's going to be very difficult here in a regular council meeting and committee of the whole. But I feel confident in my abilities. Was I too strong at the public hearing? Probably. Now that I go back and look at it, people want to have their say, and what people are asking for is they want to have their say in an open council meeting. I do like the fact that this is going to be only on a trial basis under this current council's term. I think the next council, whoever is chairperson of that and whoever sits around the table should have the choice of whether they want this or not. But I do want a clarification question of staff. So my understanding of the way that the motion sits on the floor, does it have to be written into the policy, or is it just via the motion that's currently on the thing is the direction that I get as a chairperson?
So the motion doesn't include an amendment to council's procedural policy. It sets up a trial period for this approach. So if the motion passes this evening, the next agenda for February 8th Committee of the Whole would have an item at the end, which would be public comments, and there would be 15 minutes allotted for that. And it would remain that way until after the municipal general election, and it would be the staff's responsibility to bring this back to that new council for review and decision.
Unless, please correct me if I'm wrong, unless council makes a motion to either modify this motion in the future?
So the intent of this motion is to run the pilot project until the general municipal election. If council, for whatever reason, wants to revisit that and make it permanent, then the motion would have to be to amend the policy or revise the trial period. There would have to be a new motion to deal with the time frame piece.
Okay. I just wanted to be crystal clear. So that answers the two questions. When does it start? February the 8th. If this motion that's currently on the floor passes, or some facsimile of it, or an amended of it. And you also mentioned in regards to policy, because as myself, as a chairperson, I like to follow policy, but as you stated, the direction in this motion would give me a little bit of leeway.
Could I
Yes.
speak to that, Mr. Chair? So the point you just made is a great teaching opportunity. So Councillor Hurlbert has used the term govern several times in her comments this evening. And so under the Municipal Government Act, council has the power to govern with three main mechanisms: by bylaw, which requires first and second reading, sometimes a public hearing, and sometimes ministerial approval; by policy, which is a document that is, they're living documents, but they are available and they guide the consistent conduct of the affairs of the municipality; and then by resolution, which is a decision that takes effect when it's passed by council, and it becomes the way a particular item is handled until such time as council says to do it differently. So, a good point. So while I take your point about wanting to follow policy, resolution is also one of the mechanisms to govern by.
My biggest fear with the motion that's currently on the floor is, and we've all seen it in the public hearing, and that wasn't a council meeting, but it was a public hearing. We had the public that was pretty irate about the way that I handled the meeting. What I fear as a chairman of a council meeting is all of a sudden we get lots of points of order because the council doesn't like the way that I handle the question, or let someone go on too long, or that's my big fear. I'm willing to take that risk where it's only a trial period, because even typically as a chairperson, I don't make a motion, even though I could. If I see a problem, I would have no problem making a motion to amend or remove the public input the way that we take it, because I like to follow direction. It is what it is. It boils down to, I've always said that I've been open and transparent. If the public wants to see us change something, that I do everything in my power to do research on that and bring forward the best recommendation that I could. I like the motion the way it sits on the floor. I'm a little leery of, as I can't remember which councillor it was, either Councillor Durkee or Councillor Hurlbert, in regards to the regular council meetings. That's not something that I've ever seen, because I did go over the agendas of the 5 municipalities that I could find that do allow public input session. I did go over those, and I could not find where they allowed it in regular council, but hey, it is what it is. It's something different. Maybe we'll be a groundbreaker in this. And I don't mind being a trailblazer in some respects. So as soon as council's discussing this motion, I do believe every one of you spoke twice as per our council procedural policy, and I'm going to bring that up. We need a consensus to go around the table if any other councilor wishes to speak again. We'll see. Councilor Hilton, you already spoke twice. Is it consensus of council members to speak again? Give every council member a third term? I don't see no dissenters. Councilor Hilton.
Just a couple points, and one's a question. Prior to the adjournment of each meeting, does that mean that we are going to come back from, say, in camera to do it? That's what it says. So I'd like to make an amendment to remove the prior to adjournment and leave it up to the chair where it falls on the...
Just a clarification. Prior means prior to the end, it could be anywhere in the agenda, but prior to the end would be before.
Okay, I'll remove
I mean,
that.
we wouldn't have
I'll
to
remove
make-
that motion if...
Okay, it wasn't
that's-
seconded.
And, just to the warden, I want to make a personal comment that I appreciate the way you run a meeting. You allow me to have my say. You allow others to have their say. You have your say. It's a very open space, and the bylaw LUB and MPS meeting wasn't an easy one, and I thought you handled it well. So thank you for that.
There's one more thing that I should point out. Council does have the authority to make a point of order at any time during a council meeting, and that would include the public hearing. So if there's something that any councilor member may take offense to or wants to make clarification to, they can certainly holler out point of order, and that what that means is any discussion stops, anyone making presentation stops, and then the person that made the point of order is heard. Councilor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to echo Councillor Hilton. I think that you did a good job at our public hearing. I think it was a difficult task for you. We were just there. We were there to listen. You were the one who had to conduct the meeting, and I think that it's unfair for you to apologize for the way you handled it, because I think any other way would have not been successful. One of the things that I have a concern about is that if at a public hearing we can't get through to the end without having the public be inappropriate, not following the rules of order, and as soon as the chair, in this case the warden, cuts the mic or asks the mic to be cut, then the room was in an uproar because we were following what we should be following. So my concern is that having the public, and as soon as they maybe veer off topic and start talking about the WHO and the World Economic Forum, and you as the chair decide to cut them off, then what does that cause? And I feel that and I'll still go back to this, committee of the whole and council. Committee of the whole is where we have the discussions. After we have passed it at council, it is done. There is no, if it's on the agenda for the passing of the motion at council, it's done. We're done with it. So I don't see what advantage there is for the public to then, if we're only commenting, or if they're only allowed to comment on what's on the agenda, then the motion is passed. So think about this, Warden, because you've said you agree with some things that Councillor Durkee and I have said. Councillor Cushion has said he agrees with some things that Councillor Durkee and I say. But, I see where this is going. The motion will be passed. But remember that this is the way we will have to do business. And if there have been times that people have voted against motions less than this, and I think that we really need to consider, all of us, what this means. Regular council committee of the whole. The public already don't like how staff give us the information. They want us to come up with that. I take offense to Councillor Cushing's comments about if we don't want to, if I don't take the time, or I don't have the time, or I don't want to have another meeting, then maybe I shouldn't be here. I'm here to govern. I'm here to do the best job that the residents of the municipality of the district have voted me in and asked me to do. If they have concerns and questions, they can call me, they can reach me any way possible. I think that in a public forum isn't the place for me to then decide how I should vote or how I answer those questions. Call me, ask me, give me all of the information that you have. In 3 minutes, it's not possible. Thank you.
Question being called on the motion. All those signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay.
Mr. Chair, did you vote?
Yes, I did.
I didn't hear you.
I voted in favor. The motion's carried 4-2. Thank you very much, Council.
I'd like to have my name recorded.
Yes, and that was my next question. Councillor Durkee? Councillor Durkee and Councillor Hurlbert like their names recorded. Deputy Warden, can you please take the chair?
Hey, Council. Thank you for that.
Mr. Chair, Councillor Durkee has a point.
Oh, Councillor Durkee, yes. Sorry, my apologies.
Deputy Warden, I just wanted to make note that I found the little boo-boo. Took me a bit, but I did
Okay.
find it. It's the regular meeting of November 29th, and I just need to zip down here. It was, I know, I had it, just a minute. It was an A in front of something, and that, but I know it's those minutes, and I did see it. And, I know. Here we go. File 9958, it says it was moved by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen, that the municipality a sum of money.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're missing the word accept, I believe. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durkee. Okay, so new business recommendations from the Committee of the Whole, 8.1.1, Yarmouth County Trail Association trail width. It's the pleasure of council. Oh, sorry, Nick. Councillor Hilton.
I'll make a motion that the municipality and district of Yarmouth have staff contact the president of the Yarmouth County Trail Development Association to better understand their request and discuss with the discuss how the municipality can play a role. It doesn't really say why though, but in regards to their letter. Oh, in regards to the letter about trail width.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hilton. We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cushion, seconds. Mover and seconder. All those in favor of the motion signify. Oh, we've got
That would be
another.
where discussion would happen.
Oh, discussion.
Yeah, me.
Oh, you've got, okay. Sorry, Councillor Hilton. I was getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, and sorry, and just after the last committee of the whole meeting, we also heard from the ATV Association, and I think, and this is just a FYI for staff really, during that discussion, you know, I think as following the Trail Association, there's some concerns about how sustainable that group is, and what happens to their I think it's an MOU that they have with DNR if that Trail Association falls. So there is interest from other organizations within the community to either become to take over or to become, of interest to participate in maintaining those trails. And, I think we owe it to the Trail Association to hear their side first, as they've been maintaining it for years. But I just want to put that out to staff maybe for that meeting to feel out what they see their long-term plans are, and let them know that organizations like At-Bands is interested in participating or taking on a role in the maintenance of those trails.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. 8.1.2, letter of support request from the town of Yarmouth. It's the pleasure of Council. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I'll make a motion that a letter of support be provided to the town of Yarmouth to assist with their application for the Municipal Capital Growth Program, which has to do with their wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you, Councillor.
You're welcome.
We've got a mover, seconder. Councillor Cushing, seconds the motion. Any additional conversation? Councillor Durkee, you've got your mic on. Yeah. No additional conversation or question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. 8.1.3, letter to Southwest Nova ATV Association. It's a pleasure of Council. Councillor Hilton.
Thanks. I'll move that Modi write a letter of support for Southwest Nova ATV Association regarding their application to the province to designate a portion of Highway Number 3 as a road trail.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. We have a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Any additional question or comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. 8.1.4, legislative agenda. It's a pleasure of Council. Councillor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll recommend that the municipality, or make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth approve the 2024-2025 legislative agenda as attached.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hilton. Seconder? Oh, sorry, did I say?
I'll second it, though.
Okay, seconded. Okay. No, I meant to say, Councillor Hilton, I was going to recognize you. Okay. Any additional question or comment? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. Councillor Hilton? No. Oh, for the next one. You're ahead of the game. 8.1.5, Mariners Center Board Chair and CEO presentation request. Councillor Hilton.
Thanks. So I'll make a motion that Modi collaborate with the town of Yarmouth and the District of Argyll to schedule an annual presentation to the joint councils by the Mariners Center Board Chair and the CAO pursuant to Section 12 of the Intermunicipal Agreement.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. We have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Cushing. Any additional comment or question? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. 8.1.6, Port Maitland Fire Department water access. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, Deputy Warden. I'd like to make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth request that staff look into what can be done in Port Maitland to support the fire department access to water.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton, Councillor Durkee, and I've been called worse, by the way. So we have a mover, we have a seconder. Councillor Hurlbert, seconds. Any additional comment or conversation?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. I just want to comment that this was in response to a comment by one of the fire department individuals who worked on the fire that happened recently and found that there was a lack of access to water to, thankfully, again, nobody was injured, but to quickly put out the fire. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Durkee. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry for being late.
No worries.
As I stated when this came up at committee of the whole, I know that the motion, and I'll be in support of the motion, just pertains to Port Maitland, but I'm hoping that as our staff is usually very diligent, that they will maybe have a look into, oh, never mind, we're getting to the next one. All right, sorry. I apologize. That's what happens when you come in late.
Obviously, somebody's working their magic. Yeah, it's good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. And I'll turn the chair over to our chair.
I have to call you back.
That's all right.
817, Mr. Chair. Are you okay?
I think I'll. All right, moving on to item 8.1.7, briefing note on dry hydrant responsibility. Madam CEO?
Nope.
No? Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that that we ask staff to provide a briefing note on whose responsibility it is to maintain dry hydrants in the municipality. That probably includes a list of where they are as well.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have seconder, seconded by Councillor Allen. So apparently I missed something. Any discussion on that motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.8, parkland dedication. Councillor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth accept a sum of money equivalent to 5% of the market value for the files listed below, which are file 9964, 9965, 9966, 9967, and 9970, with the numbers and the PID numbers are attached as well.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Allen. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 8.2, recommendations from the Planning Advisory Committee. 8.2.1, policy amendments to the land use bylaw. Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will start, and there are members of the Planning Advisory Committee with us this evening, so they may want to add to it. So planning documents are living documents, and there has to be continuity between the municipal planning strategy, the land use bylaw, and the subdivision bylaw. So as a result of the amendments, the comprehensive review of the land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy, our municipal planner took a look at the subdivision bylaw to make sure there was continuity. And one of the intentional approaches to incentivizing housing development in the municipality was a policy decision on the part of council to allow an additional residential dwelling unit to be constructed on a piece of land where there wasn't street access by way of a recorded easement. And so there's not continuity between the subdivision bylaw and the land use bylaw to allow for that right now. And so the recommendation the planner made to the Planning Advisory Committee, and therefore the recommendation that the Planning Advisory Committee has made to council, is that an amendment to land use bylaw policy 6.13.1 be approved by council by way of first reading this evening. And it's provided for in the document, and I know some people have access to color and some people don't, but the current policy reads No development permit will be granted unless the property intended for use or where the building or structure is to be constructed is contiguous to and fronts on a public street or private road. And the amendment is this: however, in all zones where dwellings are permitted, one single-unit residential use shall be considered allowable on lots served by right-of-way easements. And so the PAC is recommending that for first reading as an amendment to the LUB to council this evening.
Deputy Warden.
I'll move the amendment, recommended by PAC to council for first reading.
Okay, a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Any discussion? Councillor Patty Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome back. I just want to say that we had a really good discussion about the changes needed for the land use bylaw, MPS, to match the subdivision bylaw to ensure that people were able to build as they wanted. Now, I mean, of course, there are some restrictions in certain areas, but in general, for example, one of the things that we discussed is that there is no limit on accessory buildings, which is something that was going around that Facebook, that people were concerned with. But we had that discussion at PAC, and so this was one of the pieces that was worded incorrectly, and thankfully that it was found and corrected.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, since that's a recommendation in regards to changing the MPS LUB, I do believe that we need a motion of council direct staff to set a date for a public meeting, public hearing.
I don't think you need a motion. That's required by law. That's in the MGA. It has to happen.
It has to happen.
Yeah. So there will be a public hearing.
Yeah, okay. Okay, moving on. Item 8.3, recommendations from the Heritage Advisory Committee. Item 8.3.1, interpretation panels. Councillor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that council ask staff to research the feasibility of installing interpretive panels throughout the municipality.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Is there any discussion on, I want to ask a couple questions.
I can, do you want to ask them and then I can chat about what we chatted about?
No, actually, you still had the floor, so
Yes.
you still.
But you can ask the questions and then my answers might be broader to cover your question.
All right. In regards to interpretation panels, is this part of the Heritage Committee's, what's the best word, what's the word I'm looking for? Is this part of your the Heritage Committee's mandate? Because if I'm not mistaken, the Heritage Act only pertains to buildings and lands?
I'm not sure if that's correct, but I'll give you a little bit of context of where we were
Yeah.
going with this. It's been an ongoing discussion at the Heritage, and feel free to chime in, Councillor Durkee. I know you weren't at this meeting, but we've had discussions in the past. The discussion was that we have lots of things in the municipality that are noteworthy and are, we do have heritage properties, but we also have, for me, at the meeting, it kind of goes along with the beautification and what we have in each, each district and all of that. So, not necessarily is it about a particular house, but in the conversation started when we were talking about the different factories that used to be in Hebron. And so, finding out what some of those things are. And then it kind of morphed into, well, it wasn't just about that. It could be about the cattle pound. It could be about a cemetery. We've had presentations at our Heritage about, specific heritage properties at our cemeteries, most recently at our last meeting. And so it really was about having staff come back to us as a council to figure out how we can promote those things in our communities that may no longer be there but still have a heritage value. It may not be an exact property, it may not be, you know, a registered municipal heritage property, but it would be things that would enhance our municipality and provide our residents, you know, and in this case along the sidewalk that we have in, you know, the Hebron-Dayton area, that would give people opportunity to stop and learn more about our municipality and what heritage we had, you know, what things we have had of historical value that might be of interest to our residents and to tourists. Does that help?
Actually, it does, because the first thing I thought of was, here we go, talking about social media again, which I despise, but I do look at it in regards to the heritage of the village of Carleton, where the old clothespin factory was.
So we actually talked about that, because I said, you know, we have the Carleton Triangle, and, you know, and so it started with the factories in Hebron, but then we made it broad so that staff could come back to us with, you know, a variety of options, and, you know, eventually, we think it would be great to have something like that in, you know, every district. And one of those things was, even though Carleton isn't my district, that's, you know, where my family comes from, and so that Carleton Triangle has so much heritage, and so, you know, along that Carleton Triangle sidewalk, you know, there could be, you know, space for an interpretive panel that talked about the clothespin factory or the Durkee Memorial Library. So it really wasn't specific registered heritage properties, it was more what in our communities would be of interest that we could promote on an interpretive panel, which could look like, which could manifest itself in a variety of ways. There could be things like we see, you know, on the waterfront in downtown Yarmouth that could have a QR code where people, you know, buzz in. We had a presentation by Bill Curry about Old Stones, the cemetery, and they actually have QR codes so that people can go in. I didn't know this, so you can go in and you can scan the QR code, and then it will tell you everything that they know about this particular person who, you know, whose grave they're marking. So I think, you know, there's value, and we've had many discussions on how we can promote the beauty and the culture of our municipality, and I think this is just one way that we can help move that along. Does that make sense?
To me, it does. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Some of you may not know, but Pembroke Dyke in my district there, they sort of have a placemaking sign there that was done by Tootsie Eamon, and two of our residents in our community paid to have it done. There's one at the Pembroke Dyke, and depicts about what Pembroke Dyke used to look like in Chicago Point now, and the Lucy Jarvis, Lucy and Helen house where they did all their painting, in the Pembroke Hall, and so on. And the other one is at our Pembroke Hall. So there's anybody have an opportunity to go by, you get some interesting, perhaps you get some interesting ideas on how to create the placemaking signs. But we've had one now there for a number of years. I'm going to say probably 10 years or better. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councillor Hurlbert. Sorry that I was unable to make that meeting. I totally support this motion. Look, we're looking at, you know, developing more things for people to see and learn about in our community. I know when you think about people traveling to Europe, they want to know about the history. They want to know about the history of the people. They want to know the history of the buildings and the infrastructure. That's why we often go on those types of trips. And I think that's something, if we had more of those in the municipality, it will enhance, you know, visitors' stays for longer. And just to mention as well is that next to the house where I live in Port Maitland was the old Ellis Hotel. And my husband and I actually cleared out the whole foundation, which you couldn't see in the first number of years we were there because it was all overgrown. And the people who come by are fascinated by that. So I actually constructed a big banner on our property, so when people come to visit or come to my shop or just come through Port Maitland, they're welcome to go read the banner of the Ellis House, which was built in the late 1800s and was burnt down in 1924. So they love learning the history about all of these things, and so I think it's a great idea, and I'm happy to support this motion.
Any more discussion on the issue? On the motion on the floor, my apologies. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Deputy Warden, could you please take over the rest of the meeting for me? I'd like to be excused. Please note in the minutes that I'm leaving at 7:17, please.
Yeah. We're at 8.4.1, and there's a recommendation from the Joint Police Advisory Committee. It's a will of council. Oh, sorry. Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a question through you to the CAO before I make a motion. Number one talks about Argyle and us making the motion. Clearly, I'm only making that for us. Are we both going to send a letter asking for the same thing? Is that the intent?
It would be a joint letter under the signature of both wardens.
Okay. So with the motion, would I include Argyle in the motion where I have no say over them or not?
It should probably be worded along the lines of the District of Yarmouth collaborate with the District of Argyle too.
Okay. I'll make a motion that the District of Yarmouth and collaborate with the District of Argyle to send a letter to the Department of Justice CCing the NSFM and the YCJ, or our Joint Police Advisory Committee. I'm guessing that's what that is. Is that, yeah, requesting the draft terms of reference for the provincial policing service review be submitted to our police advisory committee, to all police advisory committees in Nova Scotia for review and feedback.
Well said, Councillor Hilton. Thank you. Seconder on the motion? Councillor Hilton? Any additional?
That's Councillor
I keep on calling Lauren Councillor. Councillor Cushing. Yeah, I can't get you out of my mind. Yeah, I know who you are, Lauren. Councillor Cushing, second, sorry. Any additional conversation or question? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. Yeah. Yeah, and the second one's 8.5, request for decision, 2024 general municipal election returning officer.
Another motion for the last agenda.
Oh, okay, yeah, the briefing note you're talking? Yeah, my apologies. 8.4.1, briefing note, NSFM workshop.
Nope, yes. Yeah, I'll move that, I guess it's along the same lines, that Yarmouth collaborate with Argyle to correspond with the Nova Scotia Department of Justice, affirming a desire for the our Joint Police Advisory Committee to actively engage in the provincial policing priorities process.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. And it's not Councillor Cushing. Councillor Cushing's over. We have a seconder.
What's he gonna call me?
Councillor. Yeah, there you go. Durkee. We're starting scoring right now. I'm 1 for 1. Okay, any additional comment or question from council? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, council. 8.5, request for decision, 2024 general municipal election returning officer. It's that time again, obviously, so we're not far off. Councillor Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Make a motion that the municipality district of Yarmouth appoint Dean Fuller as a returning officer for the 2024 municipal election.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Holbert. And we have a seconder. Councillor Allen, seconds. Any additional conversation? Questions? Okay, being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, council. We're down to correspondence for action. 9.1, 9.2 for information. There's Shag Harbor Incident Society Grant Report 2023, and 9.2.2 letter from Honorable Maslin, Honorable Minister Maslin, Reed Park Drive. Any comments on the letters? Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to, if you read the recap of the UFO Expo 2023, just how much that's growing. It's doubled in size this year. They're looking to do the same next year. And I just want to congratulate the committee that is putting that on, just proving that Yarmouth isn't just a sports town. That, you know, between that and we now have YCon. They're growing to be some of the biggest events in Yarmouth County, and looking forward to attend this one again this fall. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. I heard the event was out of this world, so. And better be counselor than a comedian. So I'll stop there while I'm ahead. The letter from the Honorable Minister Maslin, I have followed up a little bit more with the department, and asked a few follow-up questions and that type of thing. So in any event, the letter's there for folks to read. CEO's report. The warden was unable to continue on tonight, but so the report's there, and it's written, so people can review that. I won't read the warden's report, but I did skip over the CEO's report, and that's 10.1. And Madam CEO, do you have some comments about your report?
I guess we're at that stage in the fiscal cycle where, you know, we start thinking about what did things look like last year and how are they going to impact this year. So I did provide an update for council on two important indicators for the municipality. So I provided just a little 3-year snapshot of what the deed transfer tax has been behaving like. So the deed transfer tax is the monies, the revenue stream that the municipality receives when real property changes hands. And so we understand that the real estate market has been very brisk in the last couple of 3 years in the municipality, and our revenues more than doubled at the peak. And so, as was shared with you by myself and the Director of Finance when the operating budget was proposed to council last year, the fiscal year we're about to go into is the year where we really need to start taking a hard look at that again and make estimations that are likely to be more reflective of the settling down of the real estate market. So as we shared with you, that appears to be what's happening. The deed transfer tax, as you can see, 2023, 2024, has performed in the last 6 months of the calendar year below the previous 2 years. And so just as an indicator of kind of where that might go as you think about operating revenues for next year. And the other piece that impacts our expense centers, so our policing costs, our solid waste collection costs, almost every expense we have, supplies and materials for repairs and maintenance or capital projects, are all impacted by inflation. And so it appears as though inflation for Nova Scotia has settled at about 4%. There are some expense centers that the municipality has where there's a cap on the application of the CPI to 3.5%. So that's an important indicator for council to keep in mind as we move into your budget conversations. Otherwise than that, Mr. Chair, the summary is there of the key activities as well as the status of the motions of council and our unaudited financial statements as of December 31st.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam CEO. Any comment on the CEO's report? Any questions? Oh, yeah. Councillor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 9, new initiatives not in the business plan. You know, those are 4 things that we know that we have to move with, and, you know, they weren't in our business plan, but we as a council have recognized that those are priorities that we need to look at and need to, you know, work out. And the other thing that I know isn't in your business report, or in your report, but I wanted to make note of for the public, is that we now have new ways to be kept informed on things that are happening with recreation, the municipality, and Cape First. So you can actually, so the municipality, and thank you to staff who have implemented this, is introducing Modi Text, a new way to stay up to date on what is happening in the municipality. Modi Text allows you to sign up to receive text messages from us on a variety of topics, such as meetings and employment opportunities. And so what types of things will you receive on this text? Regular council meeting changes, committee of the whole times and dates, public hearings, special council meetings, all of those things. So those are available on our social media page, and I'm assuming that we will include them in our newsletter in the spring?
Yep, and I can say tonight.
Yep.
So the phone number is 1-855-737-2186. And you can text the word lighthouse to that number and you will receive the updates on the lighthouse. You can text the word recreation to that number and you will receive the updates on recreation. And the keyword for the corporate site is?
Text, Modi Text, Government.
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 Text government to 855-737-2186 to get updates with respect to council activities. And if your phone is blowing up too much and you want to take it easy, you can just text stop to any one of those messages and you won't receive it. And when you're ready to receive it again, you can retext one of the keywords and you'll get back on the list.
Yeah, so I just want to thank staff for, you know, doing that. I think it's a great way for our residents to stay informed on, you know, things that we have. And at first you might think it's blowing up and then you just realize that, yeah, it's there and I've seen it and I can either keep it or delete it, or, you know, it's a reminder to go back and, you know that you have to follow up with something or, you know, attend a meeting. So I do commend staff under your direction for implementing this. Thanks.
That's excellent. Thank you, Councillor Hurlbert. And, Councillor Durkee.
You got the correct name. Thank you very much. I just want to say thanks to our CAO for this thorough report. You know, people wonder what we do, and especially there's an election coming up, and I think this is a great way for people to understand the role of the CAO and the role of council on how many different things that we are involved in, how many different committees we are involved in, how many different organizations and activities and events and infrastructure. There are so many things that council is responsible for. And this is a great way for people to actually have a look at this and to understand what we actually do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durkee. Any additional comments, questions? Yeah, Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I am now officially signed up for Government, Lighthouse, and Recreation, and we've got a text back from each one. I think that's truly amazing. Just, you know, I hope some public recognize some of the steps that have been taken here tonight to ensure that we're listening. You can now be more informed on when meetings are, what's going on in your municipality. You can have a say at council meetings. These are the things that we're hearing, some on social media, some here in council chambers, and those changes are happening, positive changes. So thank you. And thank you to staff for this. I'm not even sure how it came about, but this is one of the coolest things that's come up in the 4 years for sure.
That's awesome. And I'll make just a couple comments. If you haven't been out to the lighthouse yet to see the look-offs, please do. I know it's really cold, but only takes a few seconds to, and they're fantastic. But if you get a nice clear day, it's worthwhile to go out there and see the beautiful views from the new platform. So it was a great thing. The other thing I'll mention is that technology and keeping people informed. We may want to look at making sure our youth know about that through the schools. That would be a really good thing, because that's what the youth, they're big. I guess everybody's big phone people, but particularly they receive a lot of their information via phone. So many of them may be interested in hearing a little bit about municipal government, what's going on in the community through those means. Okay, there being nothing additional there. Oh, we've got a mover to move the report be accepted from Councillor Hilton. Councillor Durkee seconds. Any additional conversation, question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Council. We're down to legal entities, the reports. 10.3. Councillor, question? Yeah, I already did 10.2. Yeah, I just spoke to the warden's report and indicated that our warden had to leave tonight, and that the report was there, and that I wasn't going to read it for him. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, if you're spared from listening to me a little bit, Lauren, it might be all right. Might be a good thing. I don't know. Councillor Durkee.
Yes, I'd like to make a verbal report on the Western Counties Regional Library. We had a meeting recently, and it's very unfortunate that the libraries are really suffering from lack of funding. And so there is a request that's come from the library to increase funding from municipalities by 5%. And fortunately, and I thank our CAO for requesting a presentation by the executive director from the library. And once we hear that, then we'll make some decisions further to that.
Thank you, Councillor Durkee. Additional reports from legal entities? Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just an update on the Mariner Center expansion. The board, we met this week. Work continues with the idea that hopefully we're breaking ground sometime this summer. We have really good group. The expansion EPC, what's the P for? Project. Expansion Project Committee, who is made up of staff members of the 3 municipalities, has really been exceptional in the work that they've done, making sure that the building that's being proposed, that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. From when the project began till now, we're getting, because of the work they've done, we're getting a bigger pool, a bigger walking track, more facilities for the price, the price that we started with. So, it's really. It really is amazing. I hope when it's done, the community's happy with the work that's been done there. Of course, we're limited because of funds, like any other project, but I feel like Mark Brophy, who's our team or project lead and manager currently, has done an exceptional job in coordinating that along with his team.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that I added 8.6 to the agenda, which we missed.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, I didn't add it. John added it, but it's here. Yes. So we'll go back to agenda item 8.6.
Thank you.
Councillor Durkee. Yep.
Thank you. Some of you may have seen an article that was written for the newspaper. Doctors Moses, Gillis, and Legier were interviewed about the lack of progress on the emergency department in Yarmouth, which is a regional center. This had been renovations. I don't even know if it's renovations or an addition to that department had been approved by the Liberal government 4 years ago and adopted by the Conservative government, saying that yes, that they were going to go ahead with the recommendations. And I know some designs were completed. So nothing's been done. And so Dr. Moses, Dr. Gillis, and Dr. Legier spoke on behalf of the hospital, saying that we really need this to get done now, and that our people are suffering greatly. Our emergency department is not able to deal with the number of people they have to see. And so I am going to make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth write a letter to Colton requesting an update on what's happening with our emergency department in Yarmouth. Yes, and CC Zach, thank you very much.
Okay. We have a mover for a motion. Is there a seconder? Put it on the table. Yeah, Councillor Cushing. Seconds. Any additional conversation, discussion, questions about that? Okay, there being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The only other comment I'll make is I did see the health minister, I think in the media, made some comment about it, but I looked at it for a moment, but I'm not just certain all the details of what she said, but I think that's a good motion. Yeah, let's get an update, absolutely. So thank you, Councillor Durkee. We've got additional, sorry, my apologies, just additional legal entity reports. Okay, there being no more there. I guess the Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, I can give a report there. We met Monday night, and the migration from the Industrial Commission to the Health Department of our health centers in downtown Yarmouth and in Pubnico, that's moving along. So that's a good news, and that'll be helpful financially for all 3 municipal units once that happens. I think that's the biggest news from Monday night. Any additional comments there? Okay, so we'll move on to the advisory committees and reports from the advisory committees. Councillor Durkee. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had asked to have added the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. We had our first meeting on January the 4th, and we talked about governance, the provincial mandate, the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, the committee mandate, and the roles and responsibility, the role of the Accessibility and Inclusion Coordinator. So we've come a long way in the last 3 years. I'm happy to say that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth decided long before the government mandated that we have a committee, that we actually had this in the works. We have had a terms of reference. We've hired an accessibility and inclusion coordinator who also, diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also accessibility. So I think that, we're moving in the right direction. We had 2 of our citizen reps present at the meeting. One came in remotely, which was also a great way for us to be inclusive. And so this particular person couldn't be here in person, but they were able to join, via Skype or whatever online platform we were using at the time. So that was really good. We had lots of good discussion under the direction of our deputy CAO, and then our CAO was there as well to kind of guide us through because it is a new committee, so the governance structure, all that involves. And we also were talking about, having some people come in to provide us some context and some education on some things that we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And I forget the 2 organizations, and I was gonna ask the CAO, but I see that she's like, yeah, I don't remember. So there was a particular person who is responsible for diversity, equity, inclusion at the Nova Scotia Community College, and I think we talked about having him, that particular person, come in and speak to us. One of the things for me that I went home thinking is, this work is really good and it's really important for our municipality, but it's heavy work. It's not, and I'm not saying other committees aren't, but this is one that affects everyone, and it's going to be sensitive, and there are going to be some people who don't like what we're doing. There are going to be some people who love what we're doing, and, you know, I think that we just need to all kind of take a beat and realize that it's work that we know we need to do. We've said we need to do it. The provincial government has told us after the fact that we need to do it. So, you know, excited about the work maybe isn't the right, you know, term, but knowing that it needs to be done, and we are moving, you know, in a good direction. So, thanks.
Thank you for the report. Additional reports?
Thank you,
Councillor
Mr.
Durkee.
Chair. Speaking about doctors, we had a doctor recruitment and retention meeting December the 14th. And as everybody knows, that we are not, as a municipality, directly responsible for doctor recruitment in the health. But when we decided to move forward with this committee, the purpose is that we need to sell ourselves. We need to sell Yarmouth, and the only people that can do that are people who live in Yarmouth. So it's really, really important that this committee has contributed, that we've contributed to this committee, which has worked really hard. And I can tell you, the last meeting, the real success is coming with specialists. We are getting a palliative care doctor. We are getting an OBGYN doctor. We have a new nephrologist. We have a new psychiatrist. We have one of the comments that was made from this last meeting is that we've had more site visits in 5 months than we've actually had in 3 years by doctors interested in coming to the area. So there's been site visits for psychiatrists, more pediatricians, and so actually what we're looking for is that there's a possibility of an additional pediatrician. So what happens is we go back to the Department of Health and say, can we have another pediatrician? If we have somebody in the area that is one, can we increase the numbers? And that's going really well. There was a huge interest in doing locums at a recent conference in Montreal, where our representatives made 100 contacts. Apparently Quebec is a challenging place to practice, so there are people interested in moving. We applied for a grant for $90,000, and so one of the issues that people are having is transportation, and we know that that's been in the big picture. We keep talking about the fact that, you know, we're in Yarmouth. Some of our highways are not finished. We don't have air. We don't have busing. It continues to be an issue for people who want to travel. So some of the money, for example, from that grant would be used for things like bicycles and e-bikes for people just to be able to get around the town and around the District of Yarmouth. Some other things that they're asking for is a setup guide. The physicians are asking for a setup guide because when they come here from another country, there are things that they need to look after that, you know, they may not have known. Things are different here. So they're going to work on that. They're looking for a place to set up an all-faith service because we do have people from different religions that live in Yarmouth. And maybe some self-guided adventure kits. So one of the things of discussion was a community car for transportation for doctors. And we were also discussing the busing situation, and Councillor Hilton and I have talked about this, where the UARB says you can only have a bus service go within a specific district or municipality, and it can't cross that municipality into another one. So in other words, the town of Yarmouth, we can't use their buses in the municipality of the District of Yarmouth, but there were rumors that maybe that's changed, and so that's something we need to look into. So one of the things that we are still having a major issue with is family medicine doctors, and that's the hardest area to recruit. And we still need 6.1 doctors in this area. But, you know, things have progressed extremely well with the organization, and I have to say I'm really pleased with the direction of the way things are going, and let's just hope we continue in that manner. Sorry, I was long-winded.
No worries. Interesting
It's
report.
important to everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just update on the REMO Executive Committee. We had our, I think it's quarterly meeting or bi-monthly meeting last week, and we received a presentation from our two staff members, Shane Strong and Max Stahlberger. And I have to give kudos to how well and how much they've done over the last year. They do provide the executive with updates, but maybe not something you're aware of, that they've taken on really completely remodeling our emergency management center, which is located next to the fire department in town. They have took on replacing a lot of the equipment, digitalizing a number of the documents and maps. They have a mapping table, electronic mapping table project that they want to do next summer. They've invested in a drone to help kind of survey affected areas, new radios, just everything. Like where they've come in the last year is truly amazing, and this really is all on the heels of the fact that we've had 7 major incidents in the municipality in the last year, including a couple hurricanes, the wildfire, which was very significant, the cold snap last fall, and a few others. So really, the need for an active REMO executive seems to be increasing, unfortunately, but they really are bringing us to the next level, and I feel in the next couple of years, our REMO is going to be looked at provincially as one of the best and one of the leaders. So kudos to both of them for the work that they're doing. Joint Police Advisory Committee meets the middle of next month. I'm sending my regrets for the February meetings, all of them. I'm away for 4 weeks. But they're going to meet and address some issues and talk about, again, the ATV use on the airport stretch and ATV use in general. We unfortunately had our sergeant move on, probably to greener pastures. She was, Carolyn was truly amazing, and someone recognized that, and she's moving on. So we're looking to meet the new head of the rural detachment sometime in the next month or two. So again, you're going to see some information in our next newsletter, I believe, for Joint Police Advisory, just on how to engage that committee and report some issues. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Additional reports? Okay. Okay, so 10.5 ad hoc fence arbitration committee. Any report there? No. We're good with that? I was waiting.
I used to make a joke and then it happened, so I got
So I guess to close the meeting until the in-camera session, we'll take a 10-minute recess, and want to thank all of council for. We don't always agree, but we have robust conversations and discussions, and that's what good governance is about. So thank all of you for that, and we had a productive session. Thank you. So we'll see you in the in-camera session. Oh, yes.
I thought not if we went to recess. No, it's a recess and then we'll come back to recess.
We can go into camera once we get in there.
So you need a motion to go to recess.
Yep, need a motion to recess. Yep. Seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.